The story begins with a young man named Siddharth Mehra, the only son of a wealthy businessman living in Mumbai. Everyone calls him Sid. He is the kind of guy who loves taking life easy and never really takes his studies seriously, even though he is already in his final year of college. On the night before his final exams, instead of studying, Sid spends his time fooling around and watching television. As a result, he oversleeps the next morning and rushes to campus without reviewing any exam material at all. While sitting in the exam hall, Sid is convinced he is going to fail and will have to repeat the course next year. Surprisingly, he does not seem too bothered. He even feels relieved when he realizes his best friend Rishi is struggling just as much, meaning they might end up repeating the class together. Once the exam is over, Sid invites Rishi and his close friend Lakshmi to go out and celebrate at a nightclub. Before heading out, they enjoy a fancy meal at an upscale restaurant and spend the afternoon shopping at a mall filled with luxury brands. Sid casually swipes the credit card given to him by his father, happily spending money without a second thought. He pays for everyone's food and shopping, enjoying the freedom that comes with his family's wealth. That night, the trio heads to their usual club and parties until late. This is Sid's life. Welcome to Wake Up Sid. The next morning, Sid's mother, Sarita Mehta, tries to spend some quality time with him since he rarely does so anymore. Sid turns her down and chooses to stay in his room or hang out with his friends instead. At the breakfast table, Sid's father notices him admiring photos of the latest luxury cars. Seeing an opportunity, his father makes him an offer. If Sid agrees to work at the family company for 3 months, the car will be his. Sid immediately refuses, saying 3 months is far too long. When the offer is reduced to just 1 month, Sid finally agrees. That evening, Sid attends a farewell party hosted by one of his college friends, Debbie. Feeling bored at the party, he starts taking photos with his new camera. It is there that he unexpectedly meets a young woman named Aisha. She is a friend of Debbie who has just moved from Kolkata to Mumbai, hoping to land a job as a writer at a well-known magazine company. Sid is surprised when he hears this, especially since the magazine she applied to is one he regularly reads for its striking photography. After the party, Sid takes Aisha to the beach, where they sit and enjoy the distant view of the city. Sid wonders out loud if she is afraid of living alone in a massive city like Mumbai. Aisha admits that she is scared, but becoming a writer at a major media company has been her dream since she was young, and she is determined to chase it. Later that night, Sid drops her off at her hotel and shares his contact details, hoping they will stay in touch in the days to come. The next day, Sid shows up at his father's company, the largest furniture business in Mumbai. True to his personality, he arrives wearing casual clothes, convinced that formal attire just is not his style. Inside the office, employees glance at him with clear disapproval, judging his outfit as completely inappropriate for the workplace. That attitude changes quickly once they realize he is the owner's son. The company secretary immediately welcomes him and asks him to wait in his father's office. When Sid's father arrives, he makes one thing clear. Inside this company, Sid is just another employee and is expected to follow the rules and behave professionally. On his first day, Sid is assigned the same work as everyone else and is told to carefully study stacks of company documents. Since he has never had any interest in the family business, boredom sets in fast. Sid can barely wait for the day to end. In the middle of his work, he receives an email from Aisha, sharing the good news that she has passed the first stage of her interview at the magazine company. Sid replies by describing his own miserable first day at the office, joking about how serious and stiff everyone seems. He even mentions how nobody reacts when he acts silly, including the moment he dances on top of an office desk and gets completely ignored. Around this time, Aisha decides she needs to move out of her current place, which is overrun with rats and cockroaches. Sid helps her by sharing contacts for affordable rental homes around Mumbai. Meanwhile, after several days of endless paperwork at his father's company, Sid finally reaches his limit. He walks away from the job, quietly giving up on the luxury car he once wanted, simply because he can no longer stand the pressure and boredom of office life. That same day, Sid accompanies Aisha to visit a boarding house run by a flirtatious woman named Sonia. The room is dirty and clearly neglected, leaving Sid visibly disappointed. Aisha, however, sees potential. She decides to rent the place, confident she can clean it and turn it into something livable. What truly wins her over is the view from the top floor, where she can enjoy fresh air and a sweeping look at the city whenever she wants. Sid helps her buy supplies for the makeover and calls in his friends to repaint and fix up the room together. few days later, during his parents' wedding anniversary celebration, Sid's mother introduces him to Tanya, the daughter of one of his father's close friends. Not long after, Sid receives a call from Aisha asking him to come over. Feeling bored at the party, he decides to leave and head straight to her place. There, Aisha invites him to celebrate her birthday together, something she has never done on her own before. After a simple celebration with cake, they spend the rest of the night quietly enjoying the city lights from the rooftop. The following day, Aisha attends her final interview with Kabir, the CEO of the Mumbai magazine company. She manages to get through all of his unusual questions, and in the end, officially earns the job. Excited and relieved, Aisha quickly shares the good news with Sid, telling him that she has finally been accepted. Sid is happy for her, but the feeling does not last long. He soon learns that he is the only student who failed the course, while all of his close friends passed. The disappointment hits hard. Frustrated and overwhelmed, Sid takes out his anger on his friends and his mother. When his father hears that Sid has hurt his mother's feelings, he steps in and demands that Sid apologize. Instead, the situation escalates into a heated argument, and Sid storms out of the house, choosing to leave home altogether. With no money to his name, Sid turns to Aisha and asks if he can stay with her for a few days. Remembering everything Sid has done to help her, Aisha agrees and lets him move in for a while. The next morning, she wakes up early, full of excitement for her first day at work. Sid, on the other hand, sleeps in and wakes up late, unemployed and completely broke. When he searches the fridge for food, he finds nothing but raw vegetables, and he has no idea how to cook any of it. When Aisha returns from work, she is shocked to see the room in complete disarray. She keeps her patience, cleans everything herself, and even cooks dinner for Sid after realizing he has no money to buy food. The next day at the office, Aisha tries to show her article to Kabir, but he is too busy to read it. Quietly, she slips the article onto his desk, hoping he will notice it later. A few days later, Lakshmi visits Sid at Aisha's place to return his belongings, including his beloved new camera. Bored and restless, Sid dives back into photography, capturing moments from daily life around the neighborhood. He even learns how to fry an egg from Sonia, hoping to prepare something for Aisha when she gets home from work. Meanwhile, Aisha grows increasingly frustrated at work. When Kabir asks her to clear out unimportant files from his desk, she discovers that her article has been tossed aside with the rest. The stress from work follows her home, and she lashes out at Sid over the unmade bed. Overwhelmed, she drops her bag and leaves him alone in the house. Sid repeatedly tries to reach her to apologize, but she refuses to answer. Left by himself, Sid reflects on her words and finally understands his mistake. He cleans the room and carefully makes the bed before she returns. The next morning, Aisha comes back from a friend's place and is surprised to find the room neat and spotless. She suggests that Sid go back home and work at his father's company, but Sid refuses. He wants to build a life around something he truly cares about. Hearing this, Aisha introduces Sid to Amit, a photography director at her workplace. After reviewing Sid's photos, Amit is impressed by his talent and offers him a position as an intern in his division. A few days later, on his very first day at work, Sid unexpectedly runs into Tanya, who turns out to be a designer at the same company. Around the same time, Sid's mother visits Aisha's home to thank her for taking care of Sid. She offers her some money as a gesture of gratitude, but Aisha politely refuses, explaining that she helped Sid simply because she considers him a close friend. Touched by her sincerity, Sid's mother leaves them with a bag of Sid's favorite mangoes and quietly asks Aisha not to mention the visit to Sid. Since moving in with Aisha, Sid slowly begins to change. He becomes more responsible and makes an effort to help with household chores. At work, he grows more focused and motivated, having finally discovered something he truly enjoys. A few days later, during a day off, Sid casually tells Aisha that he plans to go clubbing that night with Tanya. Aisha congratulates him, but her tone reveals a hint of jealousy that Sid completely fails to notice. The next morning, Sid is offered a small photography job for a family living next door. As he captures moments between a young boy and his mother, Sid is reminded of his own childhood memories with his mom. The experience stirs something deep inside him and makes him realize how genuine her love has always been. Without hesitation, Sid goes to see his mother and sincerely apologizes for the pain he caused her in the past. The following day, Sid meets with Amit and asks for permission to take photos for the next magazine issue, hoping to prove that his work deserves to be published. At the same time, Aisha finally receives good news of her own. Kabir approves her article for the upcoming issue, moved by how heartfelt and meaningful her writing is. As more days pass, Aisha starts to notice just how much Sid has grown. She becomes increasingly impressed by his dedication, talent, and hard work. One evening, the two of them attend a traditional Indian music performance together and genuinely enjoy the time they spend side by side. Later that night, emotions run high, and their bond naturally deepens as they finally give in to the feelings they have been holding back. Not long after, Sid receives a promotion letter naming him assistant photographer, along with his first paycheck. Overwhelmed with excitement, he goes straight to his father's office to apologize for running away and turning down the family business. Sid explains that he has now found a job that matches his passion and proudly shows that he has earned his own salary. Seeing this change, his father is filled with pride and embraces him. The next day, Sid decides it is time to return to his parents' house, so he will not be a burden to Aisha anymore. After packing his things, he tells her that he is going home since his family issues have finally been resolved. Aisha is clearly upset by his decision, and the tension between them grows until it turns into an argument just before Sid leaves. Back at his parents' house, Sid feels a sense of comfort as he sleeps once again in his warm and familiar bedroom. At the same time, Aisha is left feeling lonely in the quiet space they once shared. One day, Sid's house staff hands him the Mumbai magazine he regularly subscribes to. As he flips through the pages, Sid suddenly recognizes an article written by Aisha. He soon realizes that it tells the story of her life in Mumbai and her journey since meeting him. By the end of the article, Aisha reveals that she has fallen in love with Sid. In that moment, Sid finally understands that her actions all along were driven by sincerity and genuine love. Without wasting any time, Sid rushes to the beach, certain that Aisha will be there since it has always been their favorite place. The story comes to a close as Sid finds Aisha, confesses his feelings, and embraces her, marking the beginning of their relationship and a new chapter in both of their lives. So, the moral of the story is if you refuse to grow up, life will do it for you. Usually right after you fail exams, lose money, and forget to make the bed.